What is going on, Crisis Actors? It is episode 968 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I said, F it. We are doing it live with our first remote show, and we have a very special guest with us today. She is my guest co-host. Introduce yourself today, please.
Hi, I am Colonel Kurtz. I've been on here several times before. It's been a little while, and you can find me on basically all platforms at Colonel Kurtz 99.
How long has it been?
Handle. How long have I been doing this? Or
no, how long has it been since you've been on with us?
I think that it has been maybe a year or more. It feels like.
Oh my gosh,
has
it really been that long?
Now, I've been on because I've been on Timcast, right? I came on IRL to talk Epstein. That was the last time. But this show, I think that it's been a year or more.
Yeah, so, and that was kind of the nice thing about when we moved out to this location before everything went to hell again, is that where the whole point is kind of when you have guests that want to do both shows, you can have them on our show first and then go do IRL, or maybe they do IRL one night and then they stay for PCC the next day.
Right.
So what have you been covering on your channel?
Oh, it's all Candace all the time. You know what's funny, Brett, is that I didn't even start covering Candace until Thanksgiving, but and so it's only been a couple of weeks, but it already feels like I've been covering her for 2 years or something now.
So one day in regular time is like 10 days in Candace drama time.
I think so. It's like, yeah, I think it's like an Interstellar where they go to that planet, and like 30 minutes is like 7 years. That's what it feels like.
Time dilation in the nature of the Candace Owens story.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, and another great thing. So what you guys should do right now, you should go over and you should subscribe to Colonel Kurtz's YouTube channel. I have her tagged in today's episode, so you should go over there. She's actually been streaming with somebody very, very special, actually.
I have. You better watch out. I might steal your woman out from under you. No. In fact, we're going to be doing a stream on my channel right after this. We're going to be live streaming Candace as she returns to tell us what happened, or I guess what she can share with us from the Erica Kirk meeting. So anyway, I know you don't cover Candace much on this show, but if people want to check out your wife and me on my channel, they should.
Yeah, and I remember you told me after, I think it was when she put out a video on X, you said she is a natural at this.
She is, yes.
It's funny. So people were actually saying the same thing, because when we got married, she gave a speech at the wedding, and Hannah Claire actually said, why isn't she doing this in front of a camera? She's a natural.
That's what I thought. I mean, I saw that the video that she put out on Twitter after Charlie Kirk's murder, and it was just, I think, a 2-minute clip. It was really good. And that's when I said to her, you should definitely give this a shot. So
absolutely, guys, hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel. Perhaps if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you. We have been growing very steadily. Thank you guys all so much for that. I believe we are past 384,000 subscribers, which is absolutely fantastic. We owe it all to you guys. If we didn't have you guys subscribing, watching the clips, tuning in for the live streams, this channel ceases to exist. So as I always do, I want to thank you guys all so much for that. And we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. Number one, of course, being there's a bunch of news coming out right now. People are still obviously talking about the Rob Reiner murder, the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. It was a very, very tragic thing that happened on Sunday. His son has since been arrested, and we're going to get into some of the basic details of that arrest. We're going to talk about how he didn't end up in court today and the fact that he's hired an all-star defense lawyer. So we're going to get into all that. We're also going to talk about Donald Trump and his refusal to back down on his original comments about Rob Reiner. So we will discuss that. And we are also going to talk about Timothy Chalamet. Is he controlling Kylie Jenner? That is the question, because he's out for awards and people think that she's going to ruin his image. And perhaps now that they're back together, then maybe he's putting the kibosh on her having a say in anything. So we will discuss that. Also, Jessica Alba is an example now of a age gap relationship in reverse.
Yes,
and people are wondering if maybe there's a bit of a double standard there. Is there a double standard there? We got a 20 here from, is this from B Mauser 100, says, the woke is still alive and making a comeback. We need to unite against the DEI bullcrap. Candace is spewing dissent for attention. Do you agree with that?
Man, I am still confused about Candace's exact motives. I definitely think that attention is right up there. I'm still trying to figure out if she really buys what she's been selling or not, but that's a whole other discussion. But I definitely think that she has had a really negative impact on the right and on online culture, and yeah, she's been like a bomb exploding on the internet. So.
I'm one of those people where I'm very, very hesitant to ever use the phrase grifter, because to call someone,
I hate it.
To call someone a grifter essentially is to say that you know what's in their heart when they say something, that you have some type of authority on whether they believe what they're saying or perhaps they're just saying it to make money. Now, in some cases that must be true, but oftentimes what you see now is people are like, look at this post you made 10 years ago where you said something different. Well, people's opinions can change. I'm not using that as an example for Candace. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when it comes to that, you can definitely critique the fallout of everything that's being said, but I don't know if I would be willing to even go into debate about whether she believes it or not. I mean, but also, like, I'm not watching the show, I do hope you guys, if you are interested in that story, if you have been following it, you should be following Colonel Kurtz, and you should go watch their stream after the show. Also, remember, guys, like, we're gonna see how the show goes. If it all holds up well, I don't know if this episode is going to go as long as a traditional episode of PCC. It may be closer to like the solo shows that I do, or one of those in between there. Super chats will keep us here longer or until technology fail. So if you want to keep us here later, that is one way to do it. But just a heads up with how things are going. This is basically our main test run to make sure that everything's working out for the stream. So if you're ready to go, Kurtz, we can go. Are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
Okay. Let's go for it then, guys. We have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So, of course, yesterday, it wasn't the day that the news broke about the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, but it was the day when all of the news really started flooding out. And what we have learned since then is their son, Nick Reiner, has been booked on murder charges. Those charges were supposed to be presented today for filing consideration, but Nick was not medically cleared to go. This was per his lawyer, Alan Walker, who is apparently like a bigwig. He got, Karen Reed off of charges. So he's still on suicide watch in jail, and he is being held without bail. It was originally a $4 million bail that it was set at, and that has since been taken away entirely. And basically, this is what happened, and I'll kind of give you a run through of everything that happened after this incident. I put it up on screen there. So he checked in after the incident. He checked into a Santa Monica hotel on Sunday morning. And when they found him, the hotel room was covered in blood. The sink was full of blood. There was blood on the sheets. And when he checked in, they didn't see visible scars or marks on him, but they said he was very clearly tweaking out. And from there, he checked in with a credit card. Like I said, looked like he was tweaking out. No visible signs of confrontation, blood everywhere. And he was out of sorts before this, like the night before the incident at Conan O'Brien's party. Everybody was there in like black tie gala affair. He was there in like a hooded sweatshirt. And this is just a story that is, to me, it feels so part of the quintessential dark side of Hollywood to me.
Right.
What were your thoughts when this broke?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that there's definitely a dark side to being a Nepo kid, and of course not all of them turn out to be troubled or drug addicts.
We got a couple of 20s here. We will read them. I will interrupt you and then we'll get back to it. So
I don't mind you interrupting. Go on.
Pop Culture Junkie says, Brett, you should check out a great article about season 2 of POI on CBR that covers the Machine God mode and how it affected the rest of the series. I'm going to go check that out. Like, anything that can give me new content on Person of Interest, I will go and watch. Or read. So it's like anytime, like a show you love, they write these clickbait articles about how it might be coming back. I hate those, man. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I don't know. Again, I know that there's a range of outcomes with Nepo babies or the children of Hollywood royalty, but this definitely seems to be, the addiction part seems to be a pretty common story. And what I always think in situations like this is, of course, I don't have kids. I think about how having children can be a real roll of the dice. I know that upbringing and environments have a tremendous effect,
I have
but
this tweet here from you.
yeah, go ahead and read it if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Yes, you're here, but I will read the tweet. It says, "We need to get real about what a minefield and a roll of the dice parenting is, and about what a danger disturbed children are to their parents. Everyone focuses on child abuse, and rightly so. But what about the quiet epidemic of parental abuse? What do you do when your child becomes a tormentor?"
Yeah, and I have seen this in families that I've known through the years, have been friends with, and it is really hell to go through when someone has a child like this, because there really is very little that the state can do. It used to be much easier to commit someone or to hold someone against their will, and what happened was that was being actually abused. You had these classic stories of men who got tired of their wives and had them
Mhm.
locked away and stuff, right? And so we've really, I think, in some ways, I don't know, overcorrected, but we've made it so difficult for people who are a danger to others or danger to themselves to be detained for as long as they need treatment. Of course, I know he'd been to rehab. What is it, 13
Like
times or
more, I think
17?
it was more than that, starting at the age of 15. And look, from the articles that I was reading, they were saying that he really, really aspired to be like a writer in Hollywood, and he was
Mm,
never able to live up to his dad's image. And unfortunately, this is one of those things where for a long time on this channel, I've always said, look, I get it. Whenever a celebrity has an opinion you don't like or something goes wrong in their lives, everyone kind of falls back on the same thing. Well, they're a millionaire. What do they care?
right.
Like their life is easy. Like, okay, the human brain is pretty much infinite, and there's a million ways your life can become a struggle, oftentimes of your own making. And
Right.
that is true, but that doesn't make it less real for that person.
No.
So for him, now it's going to affect how a certain person views them. It's going to affect the type of sympathy somebody's going to be willing to give them. But there is something that I feel like I actually feel bad for the average nepo actor who has like a famous father or a famous mother. The ones that don't outshine their parents, like my heart goes out to him a little bit. Like John
Mhm.
David Washington is never going to be Denzel Washington through no fault of his own. I actually think he's a fairly talented guy, but he's not his dad. He's never
Right,
going to
right,
be
right.
his dad.
Right.
So he has to either do one of two things. He has to learn to be okay with that and keep trucking and doing his job, or he moves on and he goes into a different, area of profession. But that's just for the ones that are mentally well and doing okay in life. That's a whole different story for somebody who's been dealing with addiction issues since they were in their teens.
Right, right. And it was supposedly meth, right? Isn't that the substance
I
that he
mean,
struggled the most
if he
with?
was tweaking, that's likely true. But
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a list of other things. Did you see the video of Andy Dick?
No.
Oh,
What did he do?
okay. So Andy Dick, on top of being, like a sex offender and a piece of shit, long history of addiction. And there was a video the other day of him just slumped, like fentanyl bend on a street corner, and he had to be revived. They had to
Didn't hear about
and
that.
this is the worst part. He was like the video is from like an influencer who like comes up to help him but sets the camera down perfectly so that they can see him. I wish I had it pulled up here. And then they have to they spray Narcan in his nose and he
Yeah.
immediately shakes awake. Like Hollywood does something to you, man. Even to the and that's a dude who's known as an abuser, not as necessarily somebody who was abused. But then you imagine what it causes to to those who are abused and what they will go through to dull the pain.
Yeah, and the thing is, no matter how much money you have, we're still all, not to be depressing, but I am a depressive person in general, and we're still all trapped here staring death in the face, quite frankly. We don't know why we're here. I understand people have religious beliefs, but we don't know why we're here. And there's a ton to be freaked out about. There are a ton of reasons to do drugs. I'm not one of those people who's like, why would they throw it all away? It's like, come on, no, life is a horror show. It's terrifying. It's filled with problems no matter how wealthy you are. It's not any mystery to me why anyone would have a substance abuse problem. But to me, it is really sad to think about how much Rob Reiner and his wife must have gone through even prior to their vicious murder with their
Mhm.
son. And this is the burden that parents in this position face, is that they have a boundless, most of the time, a boundless love for their children, self-sacrificial love, and they put themselves in situations where they are in danger. And I've seen it so many times.
Well, this is what they were saying in this situation, was that he didn't want to go for another round of rehab inpatient. He wanted to, be at home. I believe they said he lived with them on their property. Yeah. I'm sure that he had his own space there. And the pain that parents get put through when these things happen, it is horrifying. Like, it is. And this is, of course, the worst case scenario. I do think that, life being the kind of arduous struggle that it is why religion becomes such a focal point for a lot of people. But it's, even there's plenty of people who may not be religious, but see their family in that same respect. Sure. They see family as the avenue for giving them purpose in life.
Sure, there are plenty of things for most people, or there are a number of things for most people to anchor themselves to cope, and I'm not even saying that I think religion is even just a coping mechanism. I do believe in God and spirituality, but I also believe that that probably when we die, we find out that one of the main purposes of life was to actually suffer. And from our perspective, we're trying to escape suffering.
Can you explain that? Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I mean, in kind of, I guess, an obvious, banal way, that I think maybe we're here in part to learn spiritual lessons. And I do think that there are lessons that you only learn from suffering. And I also think there's a kind of a love and connection that can come at times only through being bound together and, suffering and taking care of each other. Now, that doesn't make it okay. Like, I still get very angry at times and feel very cynical about the situation that we're in existentially. But my point being is that I do hope, and on my good days, I do believe that there is a purpose to all of this. I can't imagine, though, getting back to the Reiners, like how bleak it must be for Nick now. I mean, obviously it's the worst for his parents who are dead and the sister who remains, but it's got to be. I'm sure that he was not in his right mind when he killed them, and I'm sure he's not okay with it.
Which is why he's on suicide watch now.
Right.
I think I said Alan Walker earlier. His lawyer is Alan Jackson. And I think I avoided that because everybody knows Alan Jackson is a country singer. At least that's what I remember Alan Jackson from. It says Nick Reiner is calling in the heavies after getting arrested for allegedly murdering his famous parents, because Alan Jackson tells us Nick hired him as his defense attorney. Alan is one of the best criminal defense attorneys out there. He's no stranger to high-profile cases like this one. He recently got Karen Reed acquitted of murder in Massachusetts. As you know, Nick was booked on murder charges for Rob and Michelle Reiner, and then they caught him coming out of his court proceedings today and said that Nick was not there because of, he's medically not cleared to be in court. So now the real arduous, long journey to trial begins.
Right.
Is this the type of case that you could see getting the same level of attention as any of the other big cases in Hollywood, or do you think that this is one of those ones that's going to kind of fade out?
I think it'll fade. I mean, it'll always be tragic, kind of like the Gene Hackman situation.
Yeah.
But I do think it'll fade simply because what keeps something going, and what's made, for instance, the Candace situation so magnetic to so many people. Not everybody. I know some people are really sick of it, but what makes it is the controversy, is the conflict. And so I think that unfortunately, the Reiner story, it's already played out, basically. I mean, I don't think that he's going to be able to beat the rap on this. So he's looking at a long prison sentence, and it's a tragedy.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Donald Trump's response to this, because this ignited an absolute firestorm. Yesterday, he had his own comments. He said that Rob Reiner was suffering from extreme TDS, and people had their own thoughts back and forth as to whether this was an appropriate response. What was the first thing you thought of when you saw his initial response?
So I'm trying to remember. I should have pulled it up. I'm trying to remember what exactly he said. He begins by offering condolences of a sort, right? But then he kind of gets into the but then there's always that sting at the end, I'm gonna
pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay,
here
that'd be great.
If I can find it here. Give me 1 second. I have his follow-up response, but I don't want to just start with the follow-up response. I'd rather get into what he said.
Yeah. No,
initially.
I would like to see the original quote again too.
Let's see here.
I will say, while you're pulling that up, and again, I'll have to look at it again to be sure about how I feel, but I do think that it's possible that Trump wasn't trying so much to be an asshole criticizing Rob Reiner. I think what he was trying to do is is not be an obvious hypocrite about the fact that he's offering condolences to this guy, but this guy also was like a kind of an enemy. You know, they had a feud going of his. And so if I'm trying to be charitable to Trump, I would say, well, maybe he just didn't want to be fake and he wanted to acknowledge, well, yeah, you know, I don't like the guy really, but it's too bad this happened. You know, maybe I'm giving him too much of benefit of the doubt, though. I have to look at the tweet.
Yeah, I'm looking for it here. I want to make sure that we've got everything pulled up here. I'm gonna actually, you know what? First, before we do that, I want to do his recent response as well.
Okay, do that. That's fine.
Start with that. So this is what he said. Here, put this on screen. He says, he was a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. I was not a fan of Rob at all in any form. I thought he was very bad for our country. Now, people are going back and forth as to whether this is an appropriate response, given the fact that they were at odds for years and they were constantly fighting.
Yeah, I am one of those who doesn't think that fake sympathy is that impressive. And so there's a part of me, I'm not saying that it was right for him to tweet this stuff, but there's a part of me that kind of shrugs it off like, well, okay, he doesn't want to pretend that, you know, I find it annoying people who like to wallow in grief for people that they really didn't know or care about. I mean, the Reiner story is tragic. And of course we can all feel the horror of this and the tragedy of it. But there is a kind of an authenticity about someone like Trump who, instead of just acting like Reiner was his best friend, it was saying, well, you know, actually, like, I didn't like the guy and he had issues with me or whatever. I don't think it's a big deal, but it didn't come off well. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Politically, he made his own people mad. I mean, Trump made most of his own people mad with this. So.
Yeah. So this is what he said. I pulled it up here. I should have had this ready earlier. He says, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump. There he is referring to himself in the third person, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace.
Okay, well, maybe that was a bit uncalled for.
It's look, I get the argument they're making. They're like, look, he was shot at. They lied about him, about Russia. They've tried to kill him multiple times. I get the anger, but the thing is most of the people that I know in the space, they're not looking at it as a chance to give back what they gave to you, because that's what a lot of people are saying. Like, look at the way they responded to Charlie Kirk. Well, if that was the baseline to start with, why were you mad at them to begin with? Is it just that two wrongs do in fact make a right? Then I don't know what to do with that. For my own soul, I can't operate that way. I have to operate with a moral compass that I feel I'm comfortable with, which is to not respond with any type of joy when someone dies, regardless of what they think about me or others.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
but you know, Trump, he can't help himself, and he's certainly done this many other times. I mean, I didn't like it when the Epstein controversy was really raging a few months ago, and out of nowhere he talks about deporting Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, do I give a shit about Rosie O'Donnell? No. But like, come on, dude, seriously, like, it was such an obvious deflection, and it was so absurd, so patently absurd, and also untenable. Of course, we're not going to deport Rosie O'Donnell. That it's like
she deported herself. She self-deported.
Yeah, right.
But the
Stuff
thing is,
like that.
He doesn't get out of his own way. That's my critique of him. Is like all the good that he's done. Look, gas prices are coming down right now. Like they're trying to do as much immigration reform as they can. There have been policy wins, absolutely. But a lot of the times, I feel like he ends up not being able to get out of his own way, if that makes sense, what makes it harder. Like, the thing I point out, I'm like, look, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings shot up again, and it's because you keep giving him airtime. Like, you're giving oxygen to a dying man that doesn't need it. Like, if you let these shows, fall into obscurity, the audience isn't growing for them. If the worry here is they're going to reach new people, they're not. Like, the late night shows aren't bringing in new audiences, so you don't have to worry about, whether or not you're going to lose out on the messaging to a new group of people. And for the most part, I feel like America is so ideologically opposed now that everybody's just found their corner and they're sticking to it.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. I can't with this because in fact, you know what? I'm going to pull up, I saw a couple of responses that I liked. This one was from 5 Times August, who friend of the show. We had him on the show before. He says, this was him, and he put this in quotes. He says, "You'll see nothing but dignity and class in taking the high road from the right regarding Reiner's death. 2 seconds later, Trump spit right in the face of his base again with a dumb, self-serving, and tasteless political post. And with it, he's making you look stupid. He's embarrassing you, his supporter. He is actively humiliating you every day, from COVID-19 to J6 to Epstein to this kind of stupid crap. Nobody has TDS more than Trump himself. It's over. It's only and always ever about him, and it's time to realize and accept that he does not care about you." Do you think that that's true?
Well, that's a lot there. I don't think all of that's true, but I mean, I think that Trump actually, I do think that he cares about the country. I think he takes his job seriously. I know his opponents don't believe that. Some of our viewers might not believe that. But I think as much as he's able. I mean,
I don't think with his level of wealth and power, like if it was just about stroking his own ego, there's a million ways you could do that without getting shot at and turning half the country into your enemy. Right, I do think that the ego gets in the way of decision making sometimes, but the argument that people make in reverse is like, look, this is what we elected him for. Bull in a china shop, as they always say. Like, we're not here for him to act with decorum, but now we are in a situation where we're just a couple of months out from the horrible tragedy of Charlie Kirk. And now we're having the same discussion in the other direction. And it's got nothing to do with politics, at least in the sense of what happened to him. But it's been turned political by the response by people on opposing sides. Now, my argument was like, look, because me and Olivia had a discussion about the idea of, I dislike his politics, but because people always feel like they have to preface it, right? If you're posting this on X, which is where most of the people were, that is because most of them exist in a political space and through a political lens, which means their exposure to Rob Reiner in recent years has only been through the lens of politics. So it felt natural to preface that. But it's all so exhausting, man. There was like a TikToker who died by suicide the other day, and nobody can. Like, apparently some really, really well-known TikToker dies by suicide. Nobody's talking about it. It's like the only way you can become part of the news cycle now is that it has to connect to American politics in some way.
I didn't know that about the TikToker either, but
yeah. Here's what Tim said. Tim Pool, if you know who that guy is, maybe you've heard of him. He said, "Trump has personal reasons to be upset with Reiner, but he can do better. This was not appropriate. Rob was very gracious when Charlie was murdered. We can return that grace." Yes, I agree. Yeah. The argument to the contrary is these people are evil. They want to kill you, and you can't show them the same grace.
Well, I guess what I would say is that it's important to figure out if one is truly showing strength by being aggressive in a tweet, or if one is just coming off as unhinged or egomaniacal. And so I would say, so, you know, if he's tweeting at Zelensky or Putin or something, then I could say, well, maybe I can see the need for bluster there. But this dude's dead. He just got his throat slit. What is the deeper political point to be scored in blasting him like this? So.
This was Jack Posobiec's response. This is what he pulled up. He says, "For all the people attacking Trump's post, a day after Rush Limbaugh," this was a headline somewhere. It looks like the Breitbart text, but I can't really tell. It says, "A day after Rush Limbaugh died, Hollywood filmmaker Rob Reiner attacked the late conservative radio host as a purveyor of disinformation, saying that Americans must protect democracy from others like him. Rob Reiner launched his social media attack on the late Limbaugh by calling him a liar, warning that other conservative media personalities are trying to deny climate change. To protect our democracy, we must remain strong and vigilant in calling out their big lies, starting with climate change." Yeah. I'm not cut out for it, man. Like, you got to be brutal to exist in politics. Like, you have to be kind of a sociopath. I really believe that.
I think you definitely need to have an ego that, if not fully narcissist, borders on the narcissistic, and then you have to have a drive for it, for either egotistical reasons or part egotism, part ideology, or whatever. But in Trump's case, I really do almost think that he ran just because he was pissed at the way that Obama made fun of him at that White House Correspondents' Dinner. I really do, because remember the whole joke of that was, oh, we've got Mr. Apprentice here, and it was like the sort of the farce of the difference between the apprentice and the job of the president, right? And so he basically, if you'll remember that, he trashed Trump to his face, which was fine. Again, jokes, all's fair in love, war, politics, whatever. But I think that was the genesis of it. I really do. In some ways, he said to himself, "Well, I'll show you."
So maybe what we do is we send a time traveler back in time, and we find a way to get Trump to run, but maybe not with the same level of vitriol. But then he doesn't win. Like without the vitriol, without the bombastic persona, he doesn't win. This was another interesting take on the matter from someone named the Drunk Republican. So be that what it is. Says Trump is my favorite president of all time, but we are rapidly approaching the point at which his actions will reflect on Vance, who must win. If he loses, Trump will be fine, but the rest of us are beyond effed. So forgive me for not clapping every time Trump does something stupid. Do you agree with that? Do you think he's not thinking 2 steps ahead?
I don't think Trump tweeting like this, for example, is going to have any bearing on Vance. I think Vance is going to be judged independently from Trump and is going to rise or fall on his own ability to connect with people or to be persuasive. So, I mean, obviously, if things are going well when the election happens, then there's the incumbent or the incumbent's party benefits from that.
Yeah, it'll all be down to the economy. A lot of the time, it's going to be down to the economy. As we
and
always
then personality. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you know? I don't know. And I'm mainly just bringing this up as like a weird, mild non sequitur because I think I forgot to mention it yesterday. That Rob Reiner's wife shot the photo of Trump from the cover of Art of the Deal. Small world.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Rob Reiner movie? Like you taught film studies. You have to have a favorite Rob Reiner movie.
Oh yeah, it's far and away. It's A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
That's head and shoulders above everything else of his that I have seen. Yeah, I love that movie. I have it memorized. And of course, shout out to Aaron Sorkin who actually did the screenplay. It started out as a play and then it was adapted for the screen. But yeah, that's iconic. I have that movie memorized, honestly. So that's great. But he's done other great stuff too. Misery was a great film. One of the great Stephen King adaptations, perhaps the greatest Stephen King adaptation. And of course, she won an Oscar, Kathy Bates, for that. So, and then other stuff I know that he's done.
Stand By Me is the one that stuck out to me because that's just the one that I saw when I was younger. Like I never saw Spinal Tap. But I love Stand By Me. Right. And and that's the thing. When I moved into the political space and I saw just the amount of time people would spend talking about Rob Reiner, I was always just like, bro, like he's running these side missions now. And I did see one post that I thought was a little bit disingenuous where they criticized Trump because they were trying to compare and contrast what happened to Charlie Kirk with Rob Reiner and saying Charlie Kirk was a political guy who lived in a political world, so the backlash makes sense. Rob Reiner was just a guy making art. I'm like, no, he wasn't. He was a guy who made art. Yes, he even made great art. But to say that that's the sum total of how he's known in the last 20 years, at least the last 10 years, is unbelievably intellectually dishonest.
True, that's true.
Like
yes.
He is just known by many in the space now as the guy with he was known by many in the space now as the guy with extreme TDS. But I don't think that that's a reason to spit on the man's grave or speak down to him.
No.
All right, let's move on. You want to tell us what's going on with Kylie Jenner and Timothy Chalamet?
Well, I don't know that I believe that they actually broke up. The rumor was that, of course, there's always breakup rumors, but the rumor was that he had dumped her. And so there have been a couple of stories the last week or so to the effect, one was in the Daily Mail, and I think you have one of them, to the effect that he has basically taken her back or they've reconciled, but he has some rules for her, right?
Okay.
Supposedly, right? What were the rules? I'm trying to remember.
Let me pull the article up here and says.
I think this article's probably BS, but although I don't know, it was in the Daily Mail as well, and I actually think the Daily Mail. I know this is gonna sound crazy to some people, but I actually think that on the whole, their celebrity coverage is generally more or less accurate.
So it says After reports claimed Chalamet ended things with Kylie, their sudden public appearance ignited new speculation. Now whispers swirl that if their relationship is restarting, it may come with conditions, one that placed Chalamet's rising career above the romance. Well, if she's an independent boss babe, then he's an independent boss man now, because he wants to win awards in Hollywood. It says when they arrived at the Marty Supreme premiere in matching electric orange outfits, jaws dropped, not just at the fashion, but at the timing. Just weeks earlier, an insider insisted that the actor had dumped Jenner after their on-off connection fizzled. Their relationship stretched back to April of 2023. That's actually a pretty long time. I didn't realize it went back that far. And it followed a predictable rhythm. One said they cool down and then they heat up. Before the premiere, the pair were apparently cooling, the source added. They hadn't returned each other's stuff and hadn't blocked each other either. Is that how every relationship ends now? You just block each other? They were taking a breather. However, fans, especially Chalamet's famous intense supporters known as, how do you pronounce this? Is it Chalamaniacs? Oh boy. Oh
great.
Man. Have long feared Jenner's presence could hurt his chances of winning awards. Some believe his fame and that her fame and reality TV universe could overshadow his artistic ambitions, particularly now that Marty Supreme has stirred Oscar speculation. Those concerns may not be limited to fans. According to outsiders, Chalamet himself fears that the viral attention around their PDA at the Golden Globes could overshadow his work on Dune 2. Well, Dune 2 was fine, but, I don't think it was going to do any damage to it. With his career climbing and Oscar chatter growing, he reportedly wants to safeguard his professional image more than ever. A second source said bluntly, right now he's interested in winning awards and supporting his projects and becoming the actor he wants to become, and not being in a relationship would be okay with him. He's been unusually candid. Yeah, he's basically saying like, yeah, this is like my best performance of all time. We talked about his ego problem. I'm like, I support it. I want him to have the confidence of a pro athlete. Do you think that he's now going to put these types of safeguards on their relationship? Like, you got to act polite when we're out in public, perhaps, or maybe dress in a more appropriate way? Do you remember that? Do you remember that famous clip? It just made me think of it. Do you remember that famous clip of it wasn't even at his own premiere, but Liam Hemsworth was with Miley Cyrus at like an Avengers or a Marvel movie premiere, and he basically says something like, could you please stop acting out, or could you please, she was bouncing all over the place, and he basically was like, could you please stop that? And she like pushed him aside and like started doing it more, and everybody online was like, oh my god, she's so valid for that.
Yeah, I mean, they seemed like they were on different pages toward the end of their relationship, Miley and Liam. And of course, she changed a lot as people do in relationships. But when she started dating him, or when they first met, she had this really very sort of still good girl thing going, very sort of traditional look. And it was a Nicholas Sparks movie that they were in. And then after that, that's when she changed her image and starts doing the really heavily sexualized stuff and talking about smoking weed constantly and being kind of obnoxious in general. I remember seeing Timothée Chalamet at, I think it was the Golden Globes last year for the Bob Dylan movie. And
wait, is it actually pronounced Chalamet? It's Chalamet.
Oh, no,
right?
I don't know.
Okay, I think it's Chalamet.
Chalamet.
Continue.
I remember seeing him at the Golden Globes sitting next to Kylie, and also Elle Fanning, his co-star, was there. And Kylie was putting on lipstick, had her mirror out, was putting on lipstick, and you could see him. He was kind of laughing, but in annoyance, and he was telling her, "Put the lipstick away." So, that's the only indication I've ever gotten that maybe he finds her whole glam Kardashian uber commercialist image to be a little bit problematic. I've never seen any other evidence of that. I kind of feel like when you date a Kardashian or a Jenner, you really have to make peace with the reality. I'm just not sure that it really works to date one of those women, but to put some kind of guardrails of decorum on them. I mean, that just doesn't. I mean,
maybe if you're an actor who doesn't have those same type of scruples for what you're trying to achieve, right? If you're an actor and all you want to do is just become more famous, raise your profile, be in the next big blockbuster movie, doesn't matter to you whether the movie is good or not, then I don't see anything wrong with that. They would absolutely raise your profile in some way. But if you're Timothée Chalamet and what you really want is to be some type of auteur, then maybe dating a Kardashian isn't the thing for you.
It's not, well, it definitely does not help his image, and it's definitely to some degree will turn off some of his fans, but is it really going to drive anyone away? I guess the extent of the damage it could do would be that when he's up for awards, maybe if he's in close contention with someone else for an award, maybe the awards, the people conferring the awards might look at him and say, "Oh yeah, but he hangs out with or he dates that trashy
The wrong
Jenner."
type of woman.
Maybe. I don't think it probably really matters, but I guess.
Do you
Could.
want to tell everybody about Club Chalamet? This lady is insane.
Yeah, so it's this, I think she's in her 50s, right?
I think it said she's 58.
Yeah, and so she's a huge Chalamet fan, Uber fan, and
Her name is Simone Cromer.
Yeah, and she runs what is it, is it a website or a Twitter page?
An
for him?
Instagram page with 14,000 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says
Club Chalamet.
on Tuesday, Cromer gave her 14,000 followers on Instagram a lecture about how to survive the upcoming award season after the shock of once again seeing Jenner clinging to Chalamet's arm on Monday. She's literally dying here. This is what she says. "I wish there was something I could write that would cheer some of you up," she wrote. Please understand that I feel you." She advised them to find the perfect distraction, claiming that she drowned out the noise. Remember, she's talking about the noise of seeing like a guy half her age that she doesn't know who happens to be a celebrity with like another celebrity girlfriend. This is what she says. She claims she drowned out the noise by watching a TV series about bloody vampire shit and a demonic clown in a racist town. Quote, "You need to do the same for the next several months," she said. "See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Don't give in to the toxicity. Don't consume everything regarding Timothy. Just be more selective about what coverage you choose to watch. I'm here for Timothy. Always. Long before, and sure as fuck long after. It's just noise." She later shared a handful of pictures of Chalamet from the night without Miss Jenner. Oh, boy.
Gosh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
I've never understood how people get anything out of that degree of celebrity fixation. I can understand having an actor that you really like to watch or having a crush on Sydney Sweeney or something, but I do not understand devoting that much psychic energy to someone. It seems like to me it would just be very frustrating, like an unrequited love. Like I don't think I would enjoy, if I had that kind of a crush on a celebrity, I don't think I would enjoy ruminating on someone that I had no chance with. I don't understand the appeal of that. But
it's like right next to the shippers who get really, really overly invested in the sex lives of characters in TV shows, and then they get really offended when they don't end up like that is crazy business. And maybe the most annoying thing about doing this job is I have to now be like, people would think that I'm that person. I'm like, bro, leave me the fuck out of it. Like, I don't want to know about that side. Like I've never felt that type of connection to a character. Like, I've never felt the need for a character to end up with another character so badly. And I've certainly never felt that type of weird, like overly intrusive parasocial relationship with a celebrity.
Right.
Is there any, okay, let me ask you this. Did you have like a celebrity crush growing up? You had to have, right?
I did have a few. It's funny how fast some of that is obscured in time, but I can't remember exactly who it was. I do remember when I was very young, I had a crush on Michael Jackson, but that wasn't that unusual back then. This was back when he was still somewhat like halfway human looking.
Yeah, and like that for me, that would have been Kimberly from the Power Rangers, like every other guy, my age growing up at that time. But then you see and of course this was all prior to social media, prior to the overabundance of connection you can now like form in your brain with a celebrity by following them on every social media platform and feeling like we did a segment yesterday. In fact, now that I think about it, we did a segment yesterday about all of these people that are being scammed out of billions of dollars by AI impersonators of Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, Elon Musk, other people like that. Now, the Elon Musk one was basically like it was like a lover boy scam. It was like he got her to like send her money and like he was going to end up with her somehow. Basically like a weird offshoot of like the Nigerian prince scam. Like, oh, just put some money in my bank account and I'll give it back to you. But then like there was also scams from people that like AI versions of Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter, because they've developed this ability to parasocially connect with people. Then people get scammed out of like, they think they're getting like advanced tickets. They're not real.
Right.
They think they're going to get exclusive meet and greets. Those aren't real. It's scary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. How do you safeguard yourself against that?
I think you just don't. Well, you just don't get involved. You don't get that interested in something.
I mean, that's like, yeah, but the thing is like, I think for a lot of people, like celebrity culture is very different now, because people are like, we now live in the age of the micro celebrity. Like any person, like you're not going to have the Tom Cruises in 10 years. You're going to have 10,000 micro celebrities on TikTok.
Right.
If you ever been to like the websites that say like famous people born on this day, those lists are massive now because it's a bunch of like TikTokers you've never heard of, but are apparently famous enough to be on there.
Right. The mystique of celebrity has definitely been eroded and diluted, not only with just the abundance of TikTokers and, you know, even low-grade influencers like you and me, but even with the increased access that you get to the big celebrities. It used to be that aside from some occasional paparazzi photos in a People magazine or something, the equivalent of that, you just did not have access to stars outside of the films or the shows or the albums that they did for the most part. And so there was a lot more of a mystique. Now, you know, so many stars are on Instagram and you see them going to the bathroom or feeding their dog or, you know, looking like shit in the morning. Some of them maybe. And I'm not saying like they don't have a right to do that, but it does erode the mystique. And I think it dilutes the power of stardom.
Yeah, I mean, I've brought it up several times here, so it's going to hit a lot less hard, but I brought it up recently a couple of times. Denzel Washington told Michael B. Jordan, he said, you know, post as little on social media as you can. Like if you want to be a movie star, basically, why would they come out to watch you on Friday night at the theaters if they can get access to you all day long on Instagram?
Right.
Like there's no mystique there.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah.
And they did feel larger than life back then. They did. I don't know.
They did. They felt larger than life and they felt more sophisticated. I feel like also the exposure that they get now, it cheapens them in a way. It makes them seem like not all of them, but a number of them not as sophisticated.
So somebody here says so a Reddit user said, they said, seriously, it's obvious that this is PR for him and love for her. I don't know if Kylie Jenner knows how to love, but PR, I mean, I feel like a lot of those relationships at that level of Hollywood end up being PR relationships.
The commenter thinks that Timothy Chalamet is getting PR out of this.
Yeah, they're saying, yeah, like he's getting PR and she's in love.
I don't know if he needs that kind of, maybe, I guess. I mean, it definitely puts him in the gossip columns and sites more if that's the kind of notoriety he's wanting. I mean, I also think that, look, she may be fake, but she is really hot. I mean,
that's all that matters. That's all he's like.
Well, no, I don't mean that, but I'm just saying like there are certain obvious things there. And then also she's got a ton of money. You know, people don't think about the fact that even for movie stars, they are still conscious of not having as much money as people, as the business people above them. You know, like Reese Witherspoon, she got herself a finance guy so she can go out on a big yacht and everything, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I also think
they always end up with bankers or dudes in the finance sector.
So I wonder too, I mean, how much of the attraction here is, I mean, maybe she's just spoiling the shit out of him, Timothy.
I mean, he's got money. He's like a movie star.
There's
now.
money, but then there's like money, like no problem taking a private jet all over the place.
Okay,
Don't even bat an eye. Yeah,
maybe that's what it is. I don't know. All right, what do you want to tell everybody what's going on with Jessica Alba?
Yeah, so Jessica Alba had been in a long-term relationship, long-term marriage with her ex-husband, baby's daddy, Cash Warren, and he was a producer, semi-nepo baby. I think the son of, I'd have to look it up again, but I think the son of an actor or maybe the son of a producer as well. But anyway, he and Jessica have been together a long time, but they got a divorce a couple of years ago, maybe a little less. And so now she has been, it looks like, seriously dating for the past several months, Danny Ramirez, who is an actor who's best known probably to our audience from Top Gun, the Top Gun
Maverick.
Yeah, Top
Yep.
Gun Maverick, and he didn't have a huge role, but I mean, he was one of the central pilots in that.
Yep.
And so he is 33 years old and she is 44. Now, these days with celebrities, 44 ain't what it used to be. 44
Mhm.
looks generally a lot younger. And while I agree that there are a number of celebrities who take the plastic surgery too far and it looks weird, there's also a lot of them who don't, and they just look great for their age because they're getting just the right procedures done. They're getting good doctors. They're doing it subtly. So when you look at Jessica Alba, she's 44 years old,
Mhm.
but she looks 30 still. I mean, it looks
Mhm.
like she really hasn't. It looks like she stopped aging at about 30 or so. And so you look at the two of them together. I think what's interesting here is that due to cause due to advancements in cosmetic procedures and dermatology, women are now able to truly, for a significant degree of time, kind of suspend the wall. I understand that
Mhm.
fertility can still be an issue,
They
but like,
halt construction. They're like Democrats preventing Trump from finishing the wall in 2018. They put an injunction in place on the
they've stopped
wall.
the wall. They've stopped the wall. Well,
Oh.
and you look at like even Heidi Klum, who is in her 50s now, well into her 50s, I believe, and she is married to a German rocker, Tom Collitz, who is in his early 30s, I believe, and she still looks great. And so I do think that whether people like it or not, I do think that cosmetic procedures and advances in dermatology are here to stay, and they're just going to become better and better and more realistic looking. And I do think that this is giving women with access to these procedures and women in Hollywood, it is giving them a much more extended shelf life
Mhm.
because you look at Jessica Alba next to Danny Ramirez and they look exactly the same age.
Yeah, so the most interesting thing I thought about this picture was like this isn't like taken with professional lighting. This isn't a photo taken and then retouched. It's like a
Yeah, she
phone
looks great.
it's like a phone photo, which means theoretically you'd think she would be at a disadvantage there, and maybe have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the pictures of Kris Jenner's hands?
I haven't, but I know that this is typically what sort of a reflex with people when they're looking at someone who's had cosmetic procedures. They'll say, "Well, just look at the hands, because the hands, give it away." Which is why, by the way,
Mhm.
I put Retin-A and stem cell growth factor serums on my
On your hand.
hands.
Hold on, let me go. So you do that on the
Very
hands there?
close up. I do it. Yeah, I
So,
do it on the hands so
mm.
that people can't say that about me. They'll be like, "Oh, she's got a nice face, but look at those gnarly hands."
I mean, the first time I noticed that wasn't with Kris Jenner; it was with Kristi Noem. Not gonna
Yes,
lie, I
yes.
saw it and I was like, I think it's because like most of the photos of her that were being posted were her doing speeches or something. So she'd have her hand out like she was pointing at somebody in a crowd, and I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, you need to put that down or hire a dude to because look, the face is pulled. That looks fine. Nobody would be able to tell your age, but the hands are giving it away. Eventually, they'll have a procedure to fix that.
Well, they actually already do have procedures for the hands, but it's like anything, I'm sure someone only has a certain amount of time and money to spend on things. And so it's like there sort of gets to a point. I mean, I'm even aware of this because I get laser stuff and I have all these creams for my face and stuff, right?
Mhm.
But like I wear sunscreen all the time on my face. But like when it comes to like my arms and my hands, I'm like, so it's like everybody sort of has a line that they get to where they're like, okay, this is too much trouble. I'm not going to worry about this. But you're definitely right. When you look at someone like Kristi Noem, or I guess Kris Jenner, who's had tightening procedures, facelifts, what have you, and everything looks really smooth, and then you see the hands, they look very different, it is definitely a giveaway. It's the age.
So the thing I thought was funny about this, it says, so far I haven't seen a single femcel barking that she's a sicko for going out with a 33-year-old boy.
Right.
He's a 33-year-old child, you sick fuck.
Well, we aren't to the point yet where 30s, anything in the 30s range is considered to be predatory, but we're getting there. I mean, I feel like we're not too far from the point where people will look at a man dating a woman in her 30s and will say, I mean, I even saw it with Thomas Massey. I saw some people saying, "What are you doing with this young girl?" It's like, young girl, she's like 36.
And he's how old? He's in his 50s?
Yeah, he's in his 50s. I mean, there's an age gap, but it's like, come on, there's no credible argument here that someone's brain is underdeveloped to be able to be in a relationship.
They're like, their brain, it's still forming, or maybe maybe it's a covert insult for the woman. Maybe they're like, she's so slow that we don't believe her brain has finished developing yet.
Right.
And there is a double standard when it comes to age gaps with men and women, because men and women are different. And as Phil would always say, like, the physical threat of violence just isn't there for men. So the idea of coercion is different in those respects. But it's just, I look at this and I see, like, it's just Hollywood. Like, Rob Reiner and his wife were 10 years apart, I believe. Like, that seems like pretty much the norm. I mean, not the norm, but it seems very common.
Not unusual. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm fine. I am very laissez-faire about age gaps, and I feel like whatever works for people, great. And it used to be that as a woman, you would want to be aware of the fact that, that, for instance, Jessica Alba would have to be aware of the fact that she is approaching the wall. But nowadays, procedures are so good and they're getting better and better. I think probably in 10 years, Jessica Alba could still look the same as she looks now, honestly. So
the other thing that's interesting is what I remembered, and it took a minute for me. Jessica Alba was in an age gap relationship when she was younger, going the other direction, because she was dating Michael Weatherly when they were on the show Dark Angel together. She played Max. He played Logan Cale. I actually love that show. I tried to make Olivia watch it. She's like, I'm not watching this. This is so stupid. And at that time, she was 18 and he was 30. And I think they got engaged eventually. And then they broke up later. I think she's just like, I realized I was too young. I wasn't ready to do all of this. But so she's now been on both ends of the age gap spectrum.
Right.
Yeah. It says after sharing a screen with Weatherly, they sparked rumors when she was 18 and he was 30. She went on to marry Cash Warren in 2008. So like 5 years after they broke up. So she would have been in her like mid-20s, stuff like that. If you want to go and see the most unhinged discussions about age gaps, do go on X. That's where they're having them most of the time. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a number of people who were cheering Sydney Sweeney ditching her fiance because of the age gap there. And Sydney Sweeney is what, 27, but her fiance was 42. And people, I saw like feminists online on Reddit saying, well, thank God she's gotten away from him. Her brain is just recently developed.
She's been like a professional in Hollywood for a very long time.
Yeah,
arguably one of the best behind the scenes people in Hollywood, because she's getting all the roles she wants. She's getting all the brand deals she wants. She's building up the reputation she wants. The Housemaid looks like it's going to do well. I mean, the pre-sale tickets are strong for The Housemaid. The Rotten Tomatoes score from critics is high, if you want to use that as any type of gauge for anything like that. I think we can dispel the idea that Christy, the movie, failed because of her. No, it failed because it was a lesbian boxing movie about somebody nobody had ever heard of. Right? And every time every time Sydney Sweeney does a red carpet, she becomes the focus of the internet for at least 2 days.
Yes.
Like that. Like, I am sure that all the Daily Mail had today was pictures of her from the Housemaid premiere last night, where they said she was dressed like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, I mean, the boobs are always showing. You know what I was thinking, seeing her standing next to Amanda Seyfried, who was her co-star in that, is that no matter how confident these women are, beautiful, like Amanda Seyfried, beautiful, lusted after, acclaimed femme fatale movie stars, they have got to feel some insecurity. Like, I noticed, you have Sydney Sweeney with the boobs just popping out, and then you've got, flat-chested, which is fine, I'm flat-chested, but flat-chested Amanda Seyfried, not even trying to show any cleavage. It's like, I wouldn't even try. If I were going to have to stand next to Sydney Sweeney, I wouldn't even try to show any cleavage. It's like, who am I fooling here, right?
She could just stand behind her. Stand behind her. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Longhouse, ladies and gentlemen. Is George Clooney getting put in the Longhouse by his wife, Amal? George Clooney says, I love this. George Clooney says that he is no longer kissing girls in movies. When I turned 60, I had this conversation with my wife. So, like all boomers, he's like, you know what? I've done this long enough. Maybe I'll let the new generation have a run at the age of like 65.
That's exactly it.
Like,
Exactly it.
he's like, look, it's like you're not going to be left the way for like more professionals. George Clooney's like, here, you can have the scraps because Hollywood doesn't even want to make rom-coms anymore. He's like, look, they might do one movie a year where you get to kiss a girl. Otherwise, every movie is like sexless and pointless these days because they're terrified of showing couples actually romantically in love unless it's something like Euphoria, which is on cable streaming and super degenerate in the opposite direction. So you get no middle ground. You don't get the best you've got recently is maybe Anyone But You with Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. And trust me, Olivia watched that movie. It's not a good movie, but it did well. And the point is you used to have rom-com stars. You had Matthew McConaughey, who like he almost like lost his career because he got away from doing the rom-coms because he didn't want to be known, you know, his whole career as the rom-com guy. Well, that was a mistake because by the time he was done, now you can't go back to it because they don't do the rom-coms anymore. But luckily, he got True Detective season 1 and rebounded his whole career, Dallas Buyers Club, all that stuff. George Clooney, the funny thing about this is I use George Clooney as my hilarious example. Hollywood still uses him as the benchmark for a sex symbol. Like, if you're watching a television show and characters are talking about another person being attractive or not, they're like, well, he's no George Clooney. Bro, it's 2025.
That's kind of a hangover, though. Yeah, that's
there's no other person that they use.
Well, I mean, there should be other people, but I think that when someone, it's kind of like with Brad Pitt. I mean, Brad Pitt,
he's the other one. He's like maybe
nice
the other
looking
one.
guy, but he's clearly past his best days. And I think it's just that these men were so cemented as ultimate sex symbols for decades that they're just still stuck there in the cultural imagination as like the ultimate sex symbols. Even though when you look at especially George Clooney, I mean, he's pretty shriveled looking, honestly.
Yeah, here's a photo if you're looking for. Did you see the pictures of him recently where he had to dye his hair black for a role?
Yeah,
it was haunting. It was haunting looking.
It was not a good look.
Continue.
So, yeah, I don't know, but his relationship, I puzzle over his relationship because they claim that they're so in love and they've never had a fight. Even to this day, they claim they've never had a fight. I never know what to think about couples like that.
That's a red flag. If you're not at least having a disagreement once, again, then you have to get into a pedantic, semantic argument.
They probably just don't ever get like angry or raise their voices.
Well, that's good. That's a sign of a healthy relationship. If you can disagree and you can come to an understanding, make your point heard, and feel as if you've had your point heard, while also actively listening to the views of the of your partner, that's a good thing. But to be like most people might use fight and disagreement interchangeably, then they're like, bro, if you have never disagreed with each other, one of you is not sticking up for yourselves.
I would think so most of the time.
Right?
Yes,
So
I would think so.
This is what he said. I've been trying to go the route Paul Newman did. Okay, well, I'm done. I'm not kissing a girl anymore, he said. He added, when I turned 60, I had a conversation with my wife. I said, look, I can still play basketball with the boys. I play with 25-year-old guys. I can still hang. Yeah, they might let you win, bro, because you're George Clooney. I don't know. Like, if he's playing against his assistant, then I'm guessing that the assistant lets him win so they can keep his job. He goes, I can still hang. I'm in shape, but in 25 years, I'm 85 years old. That doesn't matter. Al Pacino just had a kid with a lady who's like 35, and they just had a paternity test done on it to make sure that it was actually his kid.
I think he's talking about, though, like nobody wants to see Al Pacino making out with that woman, though. I think he's talking about, like, in terms of his roles, he's recognizing.
No, he is.
He's hit the wall. He has hit the wall.
He goes, it doesn't matter how many granola bars you eat, 85 is a real number. He made his career as one of Hollywood's most popular romantic leads. Some of his credits include One Fine Day with Michelle Pfeiffer, Out of Sight with Jennifer Lopez, Up in the Air with Vera Farmiga, and Ticket to Paradise with Julia Roberts. I don't even think of those as necessarily like the golden standard for that type of movie. The Ocean's 11 star may have been hinting at this decision for a while. He told 60 Minutes back in March that he was stepping away from romantic films entirely to make room for Hollywood's new crop of leading men. Like I said, he hit 65 and he's like, you know what, guys? Finally, have the scraps. The scraps. That's just boomer posting right there. That's just rude. I don't know. So I think like the funny thing is I think of George Clooney most obviously because I remember him from Batman when I was very young, but also, well, not very young, but also ER, right? He was on ER back in the day, and he is one of those last examples of like a TV guy who really made it as a movie star. But it's just funny to me because I like maybe a lot of people in the comments were like, maybe you should have been not kissing your like other people on screen to begin with. Because it's not, it's not good for the relationship. What do you think? Because you have a different philosophy, perhaps, on acting and stuff like that. What is your thought on those types of relationships? Because it's a big thing. Like people always have the conversation about Neil McDonough. He's always maintained that he will not kiss a woman that is not his wife on screen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you make out with people or you rub your bodies around without feeling something. So I don't believe it. When some of the actors claim that this isn't doing anything for me or it's just work or whatever. I mean, yes, it's just work. And I think that I could, if I felt really secure in a relationship, I do think that I could be okay with the fact that my significant other was doing love scenes. But at the same time, like, let's not deny that there are basic biological realities here. And you're not doing all that stuff and not feeling something.
It's one of those things that I laugh because this is like, that's the artist through and through. Like, it's just work. Like, it's my job to access those emotions and then lock them away. I was like, you're not that well adjusted, bro. Most of you are not that well adjusted. You cannot, you're not the Terminator. You're not an artificial intelligence. You're a human being with feelings. Most would say that you're a human being with more feelings than the average person because you have to be able to access, something that you're not feeling in the moment to try and accurately portray another character. We did a story last week where Kristen Stewart talked about how method acting was something unique to men because acting itself is inherently silly and men don't want to feel silly. So they have to kind of build like some type of aura, build some type of lore around the performance to sort of access it without feeling like they're doing something stupid. And anybody who's had to perform in like a theater class, or maybe you had a friend who made like a short film in college, it does feel silly. It does. When you're doing it, it does feel silly, which is why they develop techniques to access that part of the brain. You can't pretend like that's not going to have repercussions for you once the camera stops rolling. Right. Well, and the thing is, a lot of people in Hollywood do have affairs with their co-stars. A lot of them we don't even hear about, I mean, we only hear about the situations like with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie where it ends up becoming a relationship, but you don't hear about the fact that Meryl Streep was supposedly having sex with Jack Nicholson on one of their films and cheating on her husband, right? Like, you don't hear about those things until maybe years after the fact. And so I think that probably there's a lot more hooking up than we would even realize on these shows, these movies. Yeah, and I think Clooney should have done the right thing. He should have stepped aside decades ago so that Matthew McConaughey could have made even more rom-coms than he already did. It's just funny too because it's the type of conversation that they have to know just doesn't resonate with the average person, because the average person's just like, bro, my life is so far. I'm trying to pay my bills. I don't know whether I'm going to I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm kissing people on set. Right. I don't know. I mean, but it's also like I see actors who end up in like their significant other ends up on the show they're in. So I remember when Stephen Amell's wife, he's the guy who played Oliver Queen. He played Green Arrow on the CW show. His wife ended up making an appearance in like the last season. They've been, they have kids, been married a long time. Bro, he was constantly kissing and making out and having sex with different women in the first season, and then into the second season, and then with a woman that wasn't his wife that he ends up with. And do they go to the catering truck and talk it out? Like the significant, because that's the other thing. Who's the actor? Somebody in the chat will know who I'm talking about. There's a guy who has an Instagram page. He was on the OC, and his wife has like an Instagram page where she like basically makes videos about how she watches her husband kiss other women on screen. And like that's her niche on Instagram. I forget. Somebody in the chat will know who I'm talking about, but it's really weird because no normal person can understand what that's like. Yeah, it's just weird. All right, all right. Do you want to give people an update, because the other story that you followed extremely closely is obviously what's going on with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Do you want to give people an update on that?
Well, the only update is just that the trial has been postponed now from March to May because the courts, the judge has such a backlog of cases. And so, yeah, it's going to be pushed to May. Apparently, there were recently settlement negotiations, but as of yet, nothing has gone anywhere.
Settlement negotiations for who? For him to pay her?
Well, I mean, his lawsuit's been dropped. So now, so the settlement, would be some kind of concession to make it go away. Now that hasn't happened, and it may not happen. But you know how these things go is that most of the time it goes down to a kind of a fizzle at the end and some kind of a settlement.
Oh, that's just depressing.
As of now, it's scheduled for May. The trial is scheduled for May. I just think that this is something that I don't know. I'm going to keep covering it because I want to be there, sort of waiting in the wings for if the trial does happen. But I do feel like this is a story that a lot of people have gotten tired of, because I was telling someone the other day, I'm sorry, but Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, they're just not that interesting, either of them. No knock against Justin. But
somebody in the chat just literally said, not this story again.
No, I know. No, I get it too. And that's why I stopped making videos. Look, I'll tell you something, and this is annoying as hell. But if I could make myself put out a Blake Lively video every day, I would make so much money, but I would make a significant amount of money, more money compared to than what I'm making now. And it gets a lot of views. This is what sucks, is people say that they're sick of the story, but these are still the videos that get the most views. I don't understand it, and maybe it's different on your channel.
It's different. I think it's because you became such an authority covering it. Like all the way up until the end, like the first month of the story, we got some okay views talking about it. After that, it fizzled out because it just wasn't our coverage. But for you, I think that you go so deep into these stories that makes sense.
Well, and it taps into the whole Johnny Depp, Amber Heard audience that I already had. You know, basically it's in the other Me Too stuff. But the thing is that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, they could sustain that controversy, that saga could sustain interest for years because they were both larger than life. And I mean, Amber Heard in a very toxic way, but like that situation there was endlessly fascinating. And I'm sorry, but Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, they just aren't nearly as interesting as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and that whole saga, right? And so
Justin Baldoni's just not interesting. He's really not.
I feel sorry for him, and he seems like he's a good guy and everything, but like as of yet, no, I don't find him to be either. And so it's this weird situation where this story made such a huge splash, but now has really fizzled out to where there's a trial coming up, and a lot of people, it's not even on their radar anymore, right? So it's interesting.
What's the update on what was your last video on with Candace and Erica?
Oh, well, my last video on Candace, was it I think it was covering her latest live stream. I noticed, you bring up Candace, I noticed that she's clapping back at Tim. Did you see this just now on Twitter?
No. What'd she say? So
she is well, I'll just read it to you. You know, it's always entertaining to read Candace's tweets. Okay, so she says, apparently, this was an hour ago. She says, apparently Timcast is telling his audience that Charlie Kirk's security team was the same as my security team. This is complete and utter fiction. Charlie and I never employ the same security company, literally ever. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then she follows up and she says, Timcast, and didn't you say just last week that I didn't have any security? Can you get your lies straight? So the feud between Candace and Tim, it continues.
I can't bring myself to care. My bad. I can't bring myself to care. It feels very feminine for a guy to care about this because it's boiled down to such drama. Am I wrong? My bad, person.
Your chat can tell you. I don't know. You're not a bad person for sure. I mean, I definitely understand people not interested in this or they've gotten enough of it. But I don't know. I mean, it's like it swallowed up the rest of the internet. It may die down now. I'm curious to see in a little while where Candace goes with all of this, but it definitely could die down very quickly if everybody agrees to play nice and if Candace kind of agrees, as it seems like maybe she is, to back off, but whoever really knows with her. But this, like, you can't have an audience like Candace does of 7 million people and come out over Thanksgiving break and declare that the president of France is trying to kill you and make all these dramatic claims and not have it create a huge splash. And so she really did drop a bomb on the internet over the past several months with these Charlie Kirk conspiracy
Yeah.
theories and everything. And so it's going to take a little time to unwind from that. I just wonder if a complete unwinding is even going to happen, or if she's not going to be able to help herself. So it's going to be really interesting to see today, certainly how she plays it,
Hmm.
and then in the coming days and weeks, if she is going to be able to stay away from it, or if she's going to drift back into her, as I see it, conspiracy shtick. But, you know, at this moment, I feel like she's going to try to stand down to a degree, and that's why she's playing up the fact that she and Erica had this great conversation and it cleared up a lot of stuff and everything, because I think she's looking for an out. But also, Candace, you know, here's the deal. Once you whip up a mob, you have to satisfy that mob, or that mob can turn on you. And I know that there are some of her audience that are okay with her stepping away from this, and they're like, okay, good, I'm glad you ladies worked it out or whatever. But there are also a number of people in her audience who they bought the conspiracy stuff totally hardcore, to the extent that they were worried about Candace's safety, meaning Erica Kirk, that like she might try to knock her off or have an assassin knock her off, right? So when people have drunk the Kool-Aid to that degree, no offense, but I mean honestly, then it's really hard then for Candace to kind of say, oh, never mind, guys, we worked it all out, or there's really not anything to see here after all. You know, it's like, and so I see some people talking about, you know, fans of Candace starting to talk about her as maybe part of this psyop and it was all staged and everything. And so that's the danger in whipping up a mob, is that the mob can turn on you, and that often does happen. Now, do I think that all of her viewers are going to turn on her? No. But it is going to be interesting to see how she's got to thread that needle to a degree, and I'm curious to see if she can do it.
That's it's so much. Like the thing that I was talking about with any of these types of stories, not just with this one, but with any type of, you know, if anybody here who's on X understands that this is what it's like. If you work in this space, there's all sorts of people involved, and they're all kind of orbiting one another. They agree with each other sometimes. They start arguing and fighting with each other sometimes. And the second two people start having a back and forth, there's so much lore within 10 seconds that I tune out. Like I tune out because it's like, I don't want to go look through 30 Twitter threads to figure out how and why this started. Like, I feel like maybe back in the day, I would have really enjoyed. Maybe back when I still took Adderall, I'd be like, yeah, let's get to the bottom of this shit. Now I'm just like, bro, I can't.
That's the thing that you're hitting on here, is that the news cycle for stories. We talked about how it's so fast now, but it's gotten to the point where it really is almost too fast to keep up with. And here's the thing: 2 weeks ago, other than Tim Pool saying a few mild things on air, nobody was speaking out against Candace. And I remember 2 weeks ago when I started speaking out against her, like I was actually one of the few. And at that point, even 2 weeks ago, and at that point, I was talking about how I was going to do a series. I'm going to still try to go ahead and put it out there, but I was talking about doing a series and unpacking Candace. But what's happened is that over the past 2 weeks, this story has accelerated so much, is that all of her history is already out there. You just go on Twitter and you can see it all anyway, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really it's a situation where stories now are moving so fast, and once stories like Candace or Blake Lively or whatever, once they hit a tipping point, there is then this inundation of information that occurs, almost like a download, Matrix style. And then you've just got all of this info that if you want to talk about it, you have to keep up with, you have to sort through it. And it really is not only the speed, it's insane, not only the speed at which these stories develop now, but also the massive influx of information that we're presented with when one of these controversies gets going.
How do you keep it all organized? Because that ends up being that's the hardest thing. The hardest thing for me with most of it is structure. Right. So when I want to talk about something, I'm very, very particular about, and this ends up being to my own detriment sometimes, where instead of just going through the information, sometimes in a more chill fashion, sometimes that can be a really, really good way to introduce information to people. But I'm always like, I'm forgetting something. I'm forgetting something. Even yesterday when we covered Rob Reiner, I wanted to make sure I mentioned the part about his wife being the photographer for Trump's book. And somehow I lost that. I forgot to mention it. And how do you keep up on everything? Do you ever just feel like you're missing something entirely?
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm constantly flying around in a tornado. It's a very destabilized feeling. And I don't keep it organized. I mean, it's all just it's a mess in my head, honestly. And here's where it helps to just have a good memory, and maybe also to have been a professor for years and years and just used to assimilating a lot of information. But the only time that I ever actually try to organize anything is if I'm wanting to do a kind of more sophisticated docu-series or mini doc, or I'm trying to make, some videos I've done where I've tried to make a cogent case for like Johnny Depp's innocence or Marilyn Manson's innocence or something, right? These Me Too cases. But on the whole, there's really no way to organize it very well. And that's one of the things that's crazy about it and crazy making is that really we're just constantly now in a kind of a tornado of information when it comes to so many of these stories. And it's hard to come up with a way to structure all of that input.
Well, it depends on the type of person you are, right? There's another type of person. There's another personality type, I'm sure, that's like they've got folders upon folders. They got subfolders. They got everything organized into specific drafts so that they know where their information is at any given time. And I guess that's the difference. Like for me, I go into earlier when we were doing the second segment on Trump, and I realized I didn't have the tweet pulled up. I was like, panic. You feel like you have to have all the information all the time, and then you get into the fact that they're talking about what they're talking about. I'm just like, I can't with this. It's
it probably helps to have an aptitude for certain things too. I mean, I couldn't talk about a lot of the pop culture stuff that you talk about. I would find it mind numbing. So it just kind of depends on what I think also you're interested in.
It's and that's true. It's also like when you record the type of thing that you end up covering. There are things that, for instance, I cover on my own that I know will work better as an individual segment, as opposed to things where it's clearly going to be better if you can bounce your ideas off of another person or get another person's perspective on it. Those are vastly different concepts in this space. The Candace stuff feels like it actually would do well to bounce it off somebody else in the space, so you don't feel like you're losing it. And you're like, are we experiencing this information the same way? Are you taking this the same way I am?
Right.
I saw Olivia in the chat. She's in there.
Hi, Olivia.
She's in there. All right. We've got some super chats. Let's read some super chats here. And then, like I said, I will read up through the super chats, and then we will call it when we're done here. Maybe we get a crisis party today, guys. We are very, very close there. So let's go ahead and see what you guys have to say. There's a couple here. Go. All right. Shane H. Wilder says, Happy Taco Tuesday, Kurtz and Dasovic. Man, that would be a good buddy cop movie. Kurtz and Dasovic. One is a hard-nosed detective, and the other is Brett. Come on. Oh, come on, man.
He's always giving you a hard time.
Do you have a favorite buddy cop movie?
No. I don't really like buddy cop movies. No?
Lethal Weapon?
Seven. I like Seven.
There you go. I mean, it's not really what I think of when I think of a buddy cop movie, but
it's just dark, though.
It's not a whole lot of laughter.
There's some laughs. You go back and watch it.
All right. Shane H. Wilder says, is Alan Jackson's firm on the way down yonder on the Chattanoochie? I hear it gets hotter than the Hoochie Coochie. I'm guessing those are Alan Jackson's song lyrics. My mom would be very proud of you. My mom loved country music. My mom loved Alan Jackson. She loved Vince Gill. She loved the Judds, all of that. So I, by extension, do love some country music as well because my mom listened to it. High Voltage 75 says, see it from Trump's perspective. It would be hard for me to give someone grace whose rhetoric I believe got me assassinated. I guess nearly assassinated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the thing is, in his position, because of his public-facing persona and the fact that he has been elected to lead the United States of America, I think that there are certain people that would expect a certain that still want, even though they have no reason to believe they would get it, a certain level of decorum, and they would find that to be a refreshing thing. I'm not saying that you have to suddenly start talking about Rob Reiner like he was the greatest thing on planet Earth, or that you just love the guy, but maybe that first tweet just has the part about something horrible happened and rest in peace. And then if you get further questions down the line, maybe then you can have a discussion about the things that he said in the past. But even then, that it's not even like it's going to happen in the context of politics, because the murder was not, from what we can see, it was not political. Mm-hmm. Unless you want to make the argument, and you wouldn't be able to because you weren't there, I'm guessing, but you could posit the scenario that Rob's politics affected his home life, therefore it hurt his relationship with his son. But I'm guessing that his son's drug addiction did plenty of damage, regardless of whether Rob brought his politics home or not. And I don't know if I necessarily buy that, given the fact that James Woods has said that he remained friends with Rob Reiner, despite the fact that they were opposite ends politically. They got, they had real world, they had a real world interaction because they worked on a movie together. Therefore, they were able to see each other as human beings. So I don't know if Rob would necessarily always bring those politics home. If he can separate, James Woods from the fray, then I'm imagining he can do it at home as well. But maybe I'm wrong. That's just my guess. Here we go. Greg Duvier says, first season of Dark Angel was awesome. Second season, not so much. Yes, I do love that first season of Dark Angel. Also, did you guys know that in the movie Hitman, when they have the scenes of the child soldiers, those were actually taken from Dark Angel like 7 years earlier. They used them as like stock shots in that movie. Very good. Also, it's funny because I believe it takes place in like dystopian Seattle, which is just Seattle. It's disgusting, gross. It's full of garbage after in the show. Canonically, like an EMP attack destroys the economy and like the whole world America falls into disrepair. Otherwise, just Seattle like it looks now. Yeah. No. All right. Shane H. Wilder. Oh no, I'm sorry. Alejandro Reyes says large age gaps are just a possible indicator of a problem arising from a difference in lifestyle and philosophy. I think cross-class relationships are a bigger red flag. Thoughts?
Could be. Yeah.
Could be.
You don't see that as much unless you've got a situation like people meeting in college, but generally people do tend to match up with their class more than age.
Do you know anyone that's like they married somebody either much richer or much less well off than them?
Yes, and it caused problems.
Well, I mean, you don't have to give details on the person. Like, what kind of problems did it cause?
Well, just sometimes the expectations of the person without money were excessive, and then sometimes the person with money wouldn't realize it, but they would kind of tease out opportunities or things that then they would rescind. There was just always kind of.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Tease what?
I mean, like I had a friend who didn't have a lot of money, and she married a guy with a lot of money, and he offered her father, who was in poverty, some work, but then ended up rescinding the offer because he was wealthy, and what did he really give a shit? And he didn't realize that this was like a big lifeline to this man. It was like,
oh, that's awful.
That sort of thing. Yeah. But you don't see, I mean, I've not seen extreme class. Most people stay within their class. And that's why if you want to marry a rich husband, you need to go where the wealthy people are. Go if you're a woman looking for a rich husband, go to a bar that serves like bankers.
Yeah, you got to go. You can't go to the cop bar. You got to go to the bar where the bankers are. All right. Shane H. Wilder says, Candace's cult members are now saying she saw Charlie and he's still alive. These are not serious people. Is that true?
I don't know, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they're saying that, yeah.
So Charlie Kirk is like on an island with Tupac? Is that where we've devolved into? Okay. Shane H. Wilder says, homies always give homies ish. Yes, Shane. It's all good. We respect the ish. Somebody says class maxing. Yeah, that's.
I mean,
that's what a Gen Z up and comer would do. They would say they would do class maxing.
I like that.
Yep. All right, guys. That's everything. We got through everything today. I want to thank everybody so much. Like I said, this show would run shorter because Kurtz has stuff she's got to go do today. So it is what it is. Before we go, as always, I do want to remind you, Mary will be back tomorrow. We will be live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Show will be running as normal. So fingers crossed that all of that works, according to plan and things go well. So we will be doing shows all through the week. So this is what we've got. So tomorrow with Mary. Thursday, I believe Alex will be back and Chris Carr will be in studio. So we will have a roundtable discussion on Thursday. And then Friday, Mary will be back again. So those 2 days will be full shows. And then we've got the following week off. We'll be off for Christmas. The company is off through New Year's, but it looks like right now I am going to be doing shows. At least I'm working out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. But I do want to be putting out content while the second week of that break is going on. A couple of those might be solo shows. I've been reaching out to people to do shows with me. Kurt said that she would join me on that Tuesday that week, which will be great. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming. So stay tuned so much for that. Thank you so much. We got one more super chat from High Voltage 75. It says, Kurtz, as a fan of the Godfather movies, F. Mary alive, Sonny Fredo, Michael Corleone.
Say F. Mary what?
Unalive. I think he meant.
Yeah.
F. Mary unalive.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay, so do you have an answer? F. Mary unalive.
I still don't understand what you're saying.
So it's like you've never heard F. Mary kill? Like you can keep one, you can kill one.
I know what you were saying.
You can marry one. So you have to marry. So you have to F. Marry kill.
I hope the super chat was a big one on this one.
Sonny Fredo, Michael Corleone. So which one do you marry? Which one do you F? And which one do you kill?
F. Sonny, marry Michael, kill Fredo. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, you got an answer. Yep. All right. I think I saw a couple more here. Okay. From High Voltage 75 it says party with a question mark. Yes, we will get a party. So that is going to go off. Shane H. Wilder says, I might do something special for tomorrow. Well, what is that going to be, my friend? What is that going to be? He doesn't know. Oh, one more here from Greg Duvier. He says, if you want to see Mocha, join the IRL pre-show. Spam Mocha in the chat, and Olivia will show you the cute kitty since Brett hates showing Mocha. Look, you can't say that I hate Mocha, but I have shown Mocha on Cute of the Day. Mocha got to be on Cute of the Day for episode 900. Okay, what do you want from me? In fact, you know what? Just for that, guys, I am going to give you a Cute of the Day that's not Mocha, since you decided to say that. This one here from Troy Ray says, at Brett Dasovic, Cute of the Day. This is happy Merry Christmas from Cheese. Look at Cheese. She's hiding in the tree. So that actually happens on our at our house. Toast is like under the tree all the time. We have a plastic tree. It's not the biggest, but we love it. And Toast gets under there and almost knocks it over like every day. So, all right. Guys, again, before we go, hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel. If you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you. And Kurtz, where can they find you?
I'm on all platforms, Colonel Kurtz99, and we're going to be, if Candace posts a video, I think she will in the next half hour or so, we'll be looking at it.
Perfect. All right. Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here normally 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. No likes for Kurtz.
That I'm standing on business.
No likes for her. At the beat. Got the dance.
I'm standing on
Not
business.
dance. He says no.
At the beat.
Was it loud? Was it loud?
It's all right.
It wasn't too loud? Oh, I'm going to have to raise the volume. The whole point is to raise the volume so that it scares the crap out of people. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that, I want to make sure that everybody sees just how scary it is when it goes in the headphones. All right. Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Normally 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than just watch this show, you can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Spotify, which is another great way to help the channel out. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. Mary will be here. We will see you all then. We'll see you then.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.